Hello everyone, welcome to Homeschool Autism Life. My name is Jamie. Today's video is one that I've had on my docket for a while, and the reason why I haven't done it is because I am not tech minded at all. I am old school, I'm old, and I've never been able to figure out a way. Sorry, that's my children, if you heard the door slam. I'm not sure if you've ever had, like, you've seen these well-produced videos and they're able to like put in a picture to explain what they're talking about and stuff. I've never been able to figure it out, and I don't have time to do like a huge deep dive into editing software and videos. So I decided I've been cutting my son's hair for years. So please forgive me if this video is so low tech, but I thought, you know what, I don't know if I'm ever going to get there, and I would rather have this video be out there and be able to help those who are like, how do I cut my autistic child's hair? How do I do that? And with a female child, I think depending on the hairdo that you do, it's a lot easier because it's probably bangs, and it's, maybe, trimming the base of their hair or shorter. But I know a lot of our children struggle big with haircuts, with dental appointments, doctor's appointments, and there's some stuff that I haven't gone through, and like getting blood work and stuff, I've never had that happen yet, and I'm knocking on wood that is not something that we ever really have to deal with for a long while. Hopefully when he does, he'll be at a place where he's like, okay, they're not trying to kill me with a needle. But haircuts have always been something, and we have never taken him to a salon because in my family, I grew up with my mom and doing all of our haircuts, and so it was something that I knew I was going to want to do with my family. So I do it with my husband, I do it for my daughters and my son, and I don't do myself. That's the only I draw the line. Huh? The 10, yes. So it's definitely one of those things that because I knew that that was something that I wanted to do for my family to save us a chunk of change, I decided that it was something that I was going to take on. But even for me, it wasn't a straightforward process. So I'm going to share how I do it, but I wanted to share like the lead up to getting to the place where I'm doing it and how I do it. I have some visuals for you, but when it first started, we would be in the bathroom. I would close the door, so he was locked in the bathroom with me, and I would cut his hair, and I would show you how I cut his hair. But he doesn't, I would just make him naked, and I would be wearing like, bras and underwear or something that like, in a t-shirt or something that like kept me decent, but I knew I was going to wash and have a shower after, and I literally would chase him around with the scissors, not point forward, but whenever he would stop for a second, I would take a little bit off. And because we were in a small confined space and it didn't matter where the hair went, I knew I was going to be cleaning it up, and he would go from the haircut to the shower. Now, did the haircut always look like it was professionally done? I would say no. He used to, when he was super young, he was okay with the clippers. And I could get one of those clips on that gives you 1/2 inch. And as he got older, he was like, nope, I don't like the vibrations, I don't like it. And so even to this day, I would only bring it out, so I'll turn it on to show him, but generally speaking, clippers are no good. So the other thing that we started doing as he got older and I wasn't able to, like I said, this is a whole process. As I went through the process, we got to a place where I wasn't going to chase him in the bathroom anymore. And he would see, like when I did haircuts, generally I did haircuts for his dad and himself on the same day. So he got to see dad watching his show while I was cutting dad's hair. And Darian eventually thought, well, that's a pretty good deal. I think I might want to try that. So like that's how we evolved from me just chasing him around in the bathroom with the clippers or the scissors to getting to the point where we're doing it in our kitchen and keeping the mess to a minimum, which is nice. So it's better. But it is possible to do it in a bathroom with a child that's wiggling around and moving and shaking. And I can't remember. I think I brought like his phone or my phone or something, you know, as a distraction piece. I do recognize that sometimes it was a free-for-all and I just had to do what I did to get it done. So the other thing that I want to say is usually if you're a hairdresser, you wet the hair so that it lays in a certain particular way. My son that's a non-starter for him as well. And so I do his hair dry. So it's an interesting process. He has like board straight hair, which is okay. If you have a little bit of curl to your child's hair, that's even better because it doesn't show near as much. That curl can hide a multitude of sins. So I wanted to give that proviso as well. So the first thing that we do, we have an office chair, and that's like the one that I can bring up, you know, kind of sort of high, but it's the easiest one to clean because you can just vacuum out the little hairs or sweep them off or whatever. And then we have just an iPad that he watches Piglet's Big Plan every single time we do haircuts. And I think this did start in the bathroom, and it's just he associates Piglet's Big Plan with getting his haircut. And I know all of the songs. And it's quite funny because sometimes he will sing the songs too, which is so much fun. But he has his favorite parts, and as the years have gone on, I get quicker at it. So usually it's always been under an hour, but I'm getting to the point where I'm like 45 minutes was usually the full length, so you don't get to watch the whole movie. And now I'm like at 35 minutes now, having done it over and over and over and over again. And so then he'll fast forward to the part that he definitely wants to make sure he watches before he jumps in the shower. So the other thing that my son likes to do is he has always been a fan of gravity. And so one of his favorite things to do with the hair that I cut off is let it trickle out of his fingers. And so that's one of those things that, again, he's like, gravity is awesome. He enjoys that very much. So you will see in the pictures, I have made sure that everything is like blurred out to protect his privacy. But he still does not wear clothes when it's time for his haircut. He also doesn't wear underwear as like that's forever and always. And so that's another, thing that, you can choose to do depending on your child's sensory issues. All those little hairs can get really, really itchy. And so some children might need to go directly into the shower as soon as they're done. Some kids might want to wear a full cape and a tent. Darian did that for a few times, but he prefers a towel, and that's all he prefers. So again, you know your child best and you know what's going to work for them. This video is just to empower you to say it's not that hard, and I will explain and show you. So this is me showing you how I get the length. So the length all over his head is my finger's length. And yes, it looks very weird when you first start and you're like, oh my goodness, I'm going to destroy my child's hair. it all grows back. It'll be fine. If you have a child with sport straight hair, it can look even worse. And then you're like, oh no, what did I do? What do I do? But this is to empower you that the more you do it, the better it's going to get. And yeah, it's not that big of a deal. But if you consistently use the thickness of your fingers as your guide, every single time your hand is as close to his scalp as possible, and the hairs that you've pulled in and you just snip that, it's going to be consistent. So that's if your child lets you use the clippers with the little 1/2 inch clip or an inch clip thing on it for that, you're laughing. You're absolutely laughing. But if your child doesn't, like mine doesn't, this is your marker. And you look at it and you're like, well, this finger is, you usually by the time you get the hair, you go over the same spot so many times in different directions that it all works out in the wash. So the big thing is I have a pair of scissors and a comb, and I'm just combing the hair up, capturing it with my fingers, and then snipping off the top. Another big thing I need to tell you is ears are bendable. Ears are bendable. So the reason why I highlighted this in a picture is because when I first did my husband's hair for the very first time, we were engaged. I wasn't married yet. We were engaged, and he wanted a haircut, and I was like, sure, I could give it a go. And I think that haircut was like an hour and a half long. Like it was, I was so nervous. I didn't want to wreck his hair, and he was just like, it grows back. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And so I accidentally, like, I didn't want to like bend his ears. Like for some reason, my brain didn't even like consider it, and I ended up clipping his ear like right on the end, and it just bled and bled and bled. And so then I was horrified because I was already nervous that I had like injured him. He is scarred. He has a scar there still. So I have marked my husband. But it was literally one of those things where I was just bawling, and because I had made such like tons and tons of little cuts because I didn't want to like wreck anything, that his hair was sticking to my face. And then he just like he reacted like you would if you got hurt. He was like, oh, and then because I'm crying, then he starts laughing, and I'm like, well, that's completely inappropriate. And he starts laughing because the tears and his hair had started sticking to my face, and it looked like I had 5 o'clock shadow. So this is very important. Make sure that you know that you can bend the ear out of the way, and don't cut your child because they might not react as well as my husband did. So I'm going to show you the process in between, because I want you guys to understand that when you do this, it's going to look choppy for a really long period of time, because you're trying to get from here all the way around and all the way to the top, and it's going to look choppy and bad. So like you can almost see a square in my son's hair. There's like this little weird thing there. This is all long because I haven't gotten to that end. It's going to look like this for the majority of the haircut. You just keep going. You go, okay, that doesn't look good, and you go this finger width. So the whole time, it's going to look choppy. No worries. You're going to be able to fix it. So this one in particular, I wanted to show you right here because it looks like there's a little step. And so then all you do to fix that step is you comb the hair in the different direction, capture it, and then you will be able to see that there's like this little bit of a roof, and once you cut that off, it all evens out. So I do this multiple different times in different ways, and that's why over time, like, you'll still see like a little chop here or there, especially when you're first getting to do this. But at the same time, as time goes on, I promise you, you're going to get better and better. And as your child is able to sit still, my son still doesn't. He's 16 years old. He still doesn't sit still. So there's times where you can be like, okay, it's time to sit still. Freeze is another thing that I do. Okay, time to freeze. And that kind of helps him as well. But again, here's the choppiness. This is not done at all. And then I've done some up top. The front is still too long. The back is still long, and I've got this area done. So it's okay. Like, it's easy to panic and go, oh my goodness, I've totally wrecked his hair. Just keep going. So again, showing that, you know, there's choppiness there. All of this is long, and this is just the part of the parcel of dealing with it. So I want to talk specifically about cowlicks. So my son has two pretty amazing ones in the back there, and because his hair is straight, it's really, really important to make sure that you go over that spot several times in different directions. So I might cut it this way the first time, and then this way the second time, and turn every once in a while and see if I can capture any of them. And like I said, it's really easy to see if the hair goes like this, that's what you cut off. If it's like this, you cut that little bit off. Your fingers are your guide. So no matter what, with cowlicks, the reason why it's so difficult is because sometimes the hair can go, it doesn't go all the same direction. It's going in a circle and standing up in different ways. And so it's really important to be able to go, okay, I've used all of the angles, and there's nothing that's, you know, once he gets out of the shower, there's not going to be an alfalfa sprout in his hair. So the other thing, as you get more confident in your ability to do your child's hair, the next thing, and I spelt this word totally wrong, but I wrote practice makes competent. I spelt it wrong. But as you get more confident in your abilities, the next thing that I have been doing is using, I've cut all of his hair with that, you know, finger length method. But then I want to finesse, say, the sides and around the ears. So around the ears, it's easy. You bend the ear back and you snip around the shape of the ear and on the hairline. But when it comes to these sides, I want them to be a little bit closer to the scalp to show a little bit of shape. And this is where I start using my comb as my guide, because my fingers are going to do half an inch, right? And now I want to go closer. So this part, I use the comb. So I'll comb up or against the grain, because most of our hair wants to go down, right? I go up against the grain, and then I just trim over here. And again, I'm using the comb the same way I was using my fingers. So I'll use the comb this way next to take care of any little steps in my combing. And also around the ears. So sometimes when it's nice and long, I will look for a spot in the ear, and I'll go, okay, I want to cut it here, but I want to cut it on the angle, or maybe I want to cut it straight, and then I can match it up with the ear on this side. So these are all things that you can do. I know it's not something that maybe a lot of us feel super confident in, but I truly believe that anyone can do this, especially if they have time to practice. And if you have a family member who cuts hair or whatever, they can show you, if they're willing and they have the patience of a saint, then they can show you, or they can maybe clean up something that you're like, I don't know what I did wrong here. Maybe you can help me. Those are the things. But So I showed you the starting off step, and then this is getting towards the end. So I'm just like, again, I'm looking at it and going, okay, this is good. I just want to clean up this area. I'm going to snip here. I'm going to make sure that this is like slowly going. So that shortness can be, you can leave it, like I said, for your first one, just do the finger method. But as time goes on, you can get a little bit more finessey with the front or around the ears, along this part of the hairline, and then in the back as well. You can get a lot shorter, and that makes the haircut have a little bit more shape. But if you look at that boy, he is not an unhappy man. He's 16 years old getting his hair cut. And so it is possible. It is entirely a process, and it's a process for you both to figure out what works and what doesn't for both of you. But I truly believe that for us, for my family, that has been wonderful to be able to be like, okay, I'm gonna take out the stress of having haircuts. I know there are some amazing barbers out there and hairdressers, there we go, who are able to, you know, cater to our kids and help them and get those haircuts done. If you have that, this video is not for you. That's awesome, and I wish that I had, you know, that option available to me if I had wanted to. I didn't necessarily have the money for that, but I'm always very thankful to see those videos on YouTube and stuff. But I definitely wanted to share, if you're like me who wanted to do this for her family, or wanted, you know, am finding it too stressful and traumatic for us to go do haircuts, there is an option, and it's not hard. It's very straightforward, and I know that if that's something that you need, it is possible and it is doable. So I hope that this video has been helpful. Forgive my low-tech approach, but I was like, yeah, I can't. So me and computers. But I thought it's important to get it out there, and the how-to of hair cutting when you're not talking about autism sounds great, but autism throws its own, like, try and cut my hair aspect to it. So I hope this video has been helpful. Have a wonderful week, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye. Beauty week.